Where you went after I
Nice what?
a double microphone behind you.
For my first song.
Good morning, everyone. I think our online Sangha is back. Good morning. We got a lively crowd here in the Zendo. Yeah. Giving everyone just a moment to get seated. No, I think they'll catch up. Hey, Dan. Hey, Dan. I think we're good. Look at us. We did it. Yeah, let's get this show on the road. We're at the 01. Okay.
Time to wait.
Time to wasting. Welcome back, everybody. Zendo, our Sangha. New Year cheer. Hi. I won't go into the, if you can hear me, clap once. I think we got it. Okay. Very excited. Online, can you hear us okay? Thumbs up, yeah? Robin, we got some good volume here? Okay, good. Thank you. Just want to make sure. What a great joy. So happy to introduce you today, Robert Demaree. He is as most of you know, a very long-time member of our Sangha, has served in many ways over the years, including a member of the board. He is speaking this morning on his lovely practice, and the title of this talk is entitled Keeping Your Resentments Close. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Just a little editorial on the title. So I'm going to talk about a slogan, and I'll explain all that, what that means. But it's stay close to your resentment, which I just thought would be a great kind of New Year's kind of kickoff, right? Because usually New Year's is right, you have all these goals and nice fun things we're going to become better at. And I thought, let's just bring the crowd down a little bit, let's talk about resentment. My purpose in this talk really is, and I think this is the purpose of probably all spiritual traditions, but is to increase your own personal awareness so that you can become more of who you are. More of who you are. That could be a slogan too. This is really kind of had my attention for a long time. Because very often in our culture, like with New Year's, it's like, oh, we want to be different, become different than we are. And this perspective is, no, it's about becoming more of who you are. Not adding whatever that may be, but becoming more of who you are. Which I think, ironically, is really hard to do. I got this email from this teacher, Sam Harris. You may be familiar with him. And this is a New Year's greeting he sent out to everyone that's on his list. And he said, mindfulness allows you to reconnect with what really matters. The point isn't to become a different person. It's to stop being confused about the person you already are and recognize that your conscious awareness of life in the present is the basis of every experience you will have this year and every year thereafter.
Can you read that one more time?
Mindfulness allows you to reconnect with what really matters. The point isn't to become a different person, it's to stop being confused about the person you already are and recognize that your conscious awareness of life in the present is the basis of every experience you will have this year and every year thereafter. And he advocates on his site, like the most important thing we should be doing in terms of the quality of our life, and really he would say the quality of our society, is really learning how to work with our minds. That's the basis of everything.
Maybe we can post that to Circle after?
Yeah.
Like I can get that from you so we can have time to digest it.
And this is sort of tangentially related to my talk, but anyway, I just thought that was really well put. So I want to preface before I start, I know we have some new folks here. Would the new people raise your hands? Okay, so 3, that's great. 4, welcome. And I just want to, I'm presenting this material as a student of Buddhism. I'm not a formal teacher in the sense that I can teach the Lojong teachings. I am a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, I think that's my title. Most of what I'm presenting is not of my own thought. And I'm really grateful for the teachings of Norman Fisher, who wrote this book, and I'll speak to this quite a bit. The Reverend Diane Mogitsu, Roshi Robert, Roshi Jun, who are not here, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and the Ango program, which I'll describe a little bit as I move along here, and then another person who's not a Buddhist, but who is a very deep thinker around human being, Alan Seiler. So that's where I'm coming from, and the title of my talk, Stay Close to Your Resentment, is a Lojong slogan, which this book is all about the slogans. There are 59 slogans, and there are commentaries written about them, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. But these slogans come from from Tibet originally, and a book called The Root Text of the 7 Points of Training the Mind, called for short Lojong in Tibet. And then these 59 came from another teacher in the 10th century, an Indian master, Atisha. And I'm always amazed that way back in the 10th century, they have the same stuff going on that we've got going on today. I mean, it really addresses our human condition and really how can we live fuller lives more, thrive more in our lives. And this book I highly recommend, highly well written, which I appreciate, and probably the most important part, he has a really great sense of humor. So you read stuff about like resentment and you kind of want to cry, and he'll say something funny about it. And then really, this is really a training manual about cultivating compassion and resilience, sort of a map of full human development. And like I said, 59 slogans, and I'm going to talk about one. It's called Stay Close to Your Resentment. The main point of them is that when difficulties arise, we need to face them. That's the basic. When you look at this book, or even you could say our practice, at its essence is when shit hits the fan, we face into it. We don't run, we don't do whatever else we do, but we really face into it. And as I'll talk about in my talk is that Norman says this is where the real gold is in terms of our learning about ourselves and the world, as painful or as distasteful as that may be. He writes, our difficulties can be levers to pry open our smallness. So it's a book, and what he advocates, and I think this is probably true in all Buddhist texts, is it's not just to be read, but actually to be read repeatedly and practiced. Almost, he doesn't use this word, this is my word, really chew on these slogans and really take them into your life and see how they expand your awareness or challenge you to think about yourself in different ways. And over time, what he says is over time, as we keep working on these, they kind of resolve themselves with repeated looking at them, taking them in, and you'll see how that will unfold in my talk here. And I would say even this talk in and of itself is sort of me chewing on my slogans. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but anyway. And I want to read you what he says about resentment, because he writes it so well. And when I read it, I go, and funny enough, it's at the end of the book. Stay close to your resentment. This reminds us yet again there is no escaping human problems, most of which come not so much from situations and other people as from our reactions to situations and other people. Among these reactions is resentment, which automatically takes us outside ourselves, leaping over our minds and what is going on in them to highly uncomplimentary evaluations of situations and other people, evaluations that make us feel tied up in knots, maybe even self-righteous. Resentment normally is a nasty feeling that we have. I differ a little bit with him in this. I think sometimes resentment really shows up as being really self-righteous. Mm-hmm. I've got the truth, you don't, and I'm going to beat you over the head until you come to my side of things. Despite this slogan tells us to stay close to our resentment. Usually when we feel resentful, we are fairly convinced that we are beyond the pale, like I just talked about, that our training has fallen apart, that we are completely in a mess. Probably true. But this slogan is telling you that resentment is the greatest of all meditation objects. Far from feeling entangled in it, frustrated with the entanglement, we should celebrate it. We'll have champagne at the end of the talk, so we'll all get to celebrate our and he has a little bit more here, and I'll be done reading. Think about it. So what is resentment, after all? What is it? Anybody have any ideas? When you think of resentment, what comes up for you?
Anger.
Yeah.
Anger.
Loss of control, loss of ability to control what.
It can be really heightened anger. Yeah. Judgment. Yeah.
Anger you hold inside.
Insight, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, we can turn resentment in towards ourselves, and it's very pernicious. And when I think about it, I think of more of a historical perspective. So when we look at wars, primarily most wars come out of resentment. When we think of or what's going on with immigration here in this country, seemingly it's recast again and again. Those people are taking away from us. We need to get rid of them. That's a declaration that's resentful. We resent their presence here.
There's a kind of entitlement
Right.
that we have. That we look at them, and they're getting in my way,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, or
Exactly.
that country. All that oil, and I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
Oh, greed.
Greed, yeah. Or we can look at another historical example, would be like the Holocaust, obviously. It's like tremendous resentment against the Jewish people as well as communists, gay people. I mean, they covered the gamut there. So tremendous impact on ourselves, but also our society in general, and how it can stir up people into groups who will join the bandwagon of resentment. Those people, if we get rid of those people, we'll be A-okay here. So we had a retreat, what was it, a couple weeks ago? A month ago? Really? Jeez. So for new folks, or if you haven't done a retreat, I'd highly recommend you sign up for one. We'll have one in the spring. I'm not sure of the dates.
One coming up in February, short one.
It's a short one in February. Thank you, Mark. And then there's a longer one, right, later in the spring. So the one we just did ran 7 days. You could do it full time, which means 6:30 in the morning till 9 at night. Or you could we have different options, all nights, or all mornings, or 3 days. I think those are all the options. So it allows you to really kind of fit it into your schedule. You don't have to do the full time, all 7 days retreat. though I highly recommend you doing that. It's a very powerful experience. And actually what launched this talk was what I experienced in the retreat. And if you haven't been in a retreat, it's quite an experience in many different ways. And I see some people were at the closing session we have. I'm going to kind of repeat a little story I told there. And so when you do a retreat, you're doing a lot of sitting all day long. And normally in the first couple days, your body is saying to you, let's get out of here. This doesn't make any sense. My body aches, especially if you're sitting on a cushion. And your mind is saying, like I said earlier, who thought this was a good idea? And I'm speaking my own personal experience, but when I talk to other people in retreat, pretty much common experience, resistance shows up, like just resentment shows up, really. So I think it's Monday night, and there's the last sit from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so it's the end of the day, it's wintertime, it's dark, meditating, and partway into the last meditation, I hear this voice that speaks to me, the voice, and literally it's on my left side. You know what? This is the God's honest. You know what? They're paying somebody to bother you here. Literally a voice. And I'm going, what? And then, just like 2 seconds later, another voice on the right says, you know what? I think he's right. And this has never happened to me, meditating or otherwise, so don't get any ideas. And I'm sitting there with this, and I've been meditating, all day long, so I just kind of sit with it, and then I just start kind of laughing to myself, like, this is really funny, really funny. And then I thought about it, what that voice was saying to me. There was a person in the retreat that was driving me nuts. And the retreats are silent, so we're not talking to each other. So it's really, we're just engaged in meditating. We prepare meals, we eat meals together, we clean up, we do things together, but largely silently. And this person just keeps doing the same things over and over again. And it's bothering me. He shouldn't be doing that. Why is he doing that? And my resentment is just kind of building up and building up. And there really was that feeling of those voices of like he was doing that. I'm going to get Robert. I'm going to get him with this. I was taking it personally. And sort of this is kind of an example of what resentment is. Like we really take it personal and some sort of opposition to us that we want to stop. We want to say, no, you shouldn't be doing that because I know how you should live your life. Or how you should see. Which is another talk, which is totally true, and we'll cover that. So what do you think? What price was I paying for this resentment with this person? There was a price I was paying. Any ideas or thoughts on that?
Well, you weren't paying attention for one thing.
Or just to him. Yeah. So my own attention was being diverted, right? What else?
It's like an ember you're holding in your hand, like you just decided to hold on to this rather than, choose to not perceive it. Your attention to that.
Right, yeah. There was a real attachment I had to this, what was going on with this
You
guy.
lost your openness and your emptiness.
Yeah. And you were going to say something?
Well, you were there instead of here. So everything that could have occurred here
Right.
was not occurring.
So yeah, it really took me out.
Price on that.
Yeah, I was somewhere else, with this guy. So really like this connection from him. And I think even more importantly, disconnection from myself. In a kind of funny way, right? It's like, at that time I'm thinking like, no, what? He can't be doing that. He's got to stop doing that. It's driving me nuts. And as I kept working with this and working with this slogan, I kept thinking about this idea of resentment and staying close to it. And I started to feel kind of, this is a technical term, started feeling really kind of icky. Like, this is not, like, getting clear about it. It's like taking something that's inside of me and making it an object and kind of looking at it and going like, Robert, what the F are you thinking about here? He's just doing what he's doing, right? You can't control him either. And as I mentioned, the self-righteousness, which is a good one. I like that. And then on further examination, it really felt like there was something murky under the surface of my resentment. Something a little bit more than just, he's not doing what I want him to do, and I felt like there had to be, so how do I work with this? In one way, in sort of our practices, we just keep meditating on it, and we breathe it in and breathe it out, we let go, which I did through the week, which was very helpful. And then I did a little study in another area talking about, so what's the antidote to resentment? Anyone have a thought about that?
Love.
Love? Very good, yeah.
Introspection.
I'm sorry?
Introspection.
Introspection?
Reversing the what the hell is wrong with them to what the hell is wrong with me. That's letting it bother.
You know, can you come up here, please? No, I'm kidding.
What's my part in this?
Yeah, really. So,
Understand.
kind of shortcut. What I was going to say is, kind of the basic word we would use there is accepting what is. And it was mentioned earlier, which was great. It's like in our practice, we would call that like clear seeing what is without an attachment. Like this guy is doing what he's doing, and that might have lasted in my brain for 2 seconds versus the you shouldn't be doing that. And I was, to Ken's point, experiencing as I reflected on this slogan towards the end of the retreat. It's like, you know what? He really kind of reminds me of myself, which was kind of. Yeah, but like, it's not him, it's me that's showing up in this guy. So this idea of acceptance is really powerful. And this Alan Seiler guy, he writes about, without acceptance, we become trapped where our energy is focused on the past, what has happened, and why it was wrong. Another way is to realize that to seek change, what is not open to change serves no purpose. It limits our resourcefulness, flexibility, and compromises the quality of our life. We suffer in some way. So we can keep shaking our hand at whatever our object of resentfulness is, and waste our time, waste our energy, really not get anywhere with it. In acceptance, we don't continue to push against what we don't agree with. It's not about being complacent, apathetic, indifferent, or adopting an unquestioning stance. So some people can translate acceptance as, I can't do anything, like just kind of giving up, like resigned to whatever is happening. And the important distinction here is, but we still want to remain committed to what's important to us. We don't want to give up our values, our concerns, but we want to get really clear about what the situation is. So I'm curious, any questions or thoughts so far?
Oh, over here with Ungo.
I just want to apologize for this.
Wait, I got a mic here for you. Ungo.
For what?
Destroying your retreat.
Ungo was taking responsibility for being that person.
Eat the blame.
It wasn't you, so.
But this is a little bit like you spot it, you got it kind of an idea. Someone has said that to me before, and I find that to be really true, that if there's something that is poking at me a little bit, like you spot it, you got it. And I can be patient enough or accepting enough of the situation or what it is and realize, oh yeah, I've done that before. We're all human. I'm not like some extra special supernatural human. I have experienced and will experience all the things that everyone else has. Mm-hmm. And I've probably done that too. Here, up to Mark.
I was thinking about Mara. I was thinking about the Buddha sitting as he was gaining enlightenment and how he's fighting Mara. And Mara, I think, was this voice that you're talking about saying, what the hell are you doing here? Get up, all of that. And the second real quick thing is Sylvia Boorstein, in one of her early books, was writing about, she was at a retreat and somebody took the pillow she was sitting on. And she just went crazy.
Yeah, Chris.
In the back here, Chris.
Many of you are probably familiar with this. I just ran across it the other day. If I could just quickly read something. It's called The Empty Boat. A monk decides to meditate alone, away from his monastery. He takes a boat and goes to the middle of the lake, closes his eyes, and begins to meditate. After a few hours of unperturbed silence, he suddenly feels the blow of another boat hitting his. With his eyes still closed, he feels his anger rising, and when he opens his eyes, he is ready to shout at the boatman who dared to disturb his meditation. But as he opens his eyes and he sees that it is an empty boat, not tied up, floating in the middle of the lake. At that moment, the monk achieves self-realization and understands that anger is within him. It simply needs to hit an external object to provoke it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's really powerful illustration of what you're saying here about how we think it's this thing out here in our environment that's provoking us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an empty object.
Right.
The anger is in us, or the resentment, or whatever it is, and that's what we have to work with.
Thank you.
On mine? Okay.
All right.
Any opportunity.
So I'll just read a few little notes I have here. So we put the past to rest, which, think about it, what are things that can take on your time and energy that have happened in the past that you keep replaying? It's something you did that you regret or something you lost. I think part of the practice is to let go of that, not give it all the energy that you can or do give it. And these are kind of, I'll just read these. So with acceptance, we don't try to force others into a mold of how we define the ways they should be, like I was thinking about this guy. Have a willingness to re-examine our ideas and perspectives and identify our limiting prejudices and assumptions. Don't hold fast to our ideas and closing off the ideas of others. Not necessarily agreeing with the ideas and behaviors of others, but be willing to converse about how they make sense from their perspective. Being open to develop an appreciation of how we can learn from differences. And to me, this speaks to a conversation that's largely missing in our society, where we actually sit down and talk in this way from this place of acceptance at a very kind of base level. And this acceptance, or where does this resentment come from? I think even underneath our pushing against something, or like this guy that was bothering me, there's something underneath that inside of me, and it's sort of a lack of self-acceptance. Like, I think often resentment is I use it to defend myself. He's not doing it my way, I'm right, and there's this, ego in me that's saying, no, I have to be right, because if I'm not right, then I'm less than. And that's where that acceptance piece comes in, is really accepting our selves. Acceptance of ourselves, being at peace with who we are, our place in the world, and being at peace with our past desires, ambitions, objectives, and goals, while not being driven by them. We accept ourselves as legitimate, warts and all, not encumbered by negative self-judgments or being caught living in the judgment of others. And we know and accept that we have areas that we can improve in to become more of who we are. So I think at heart, why we sit here is to discover and cultivate that peace, to feel that peace. So when we really feel that peace, that deep acceptance, we're not reactive. We're actually probably curious, like, of what's going on around us. And I'll finish with this. And this idea, I think, is an important one. I want to just ramble on about, but this idea of legitimacy and how we delegitimate, or however you say that, make people illegitimate for whatever reason. Like for me, using this guy again, he's pretty beaten up already, but But he's illegitimate because he's not doing what he should be doing in the Buddha hall during a retreat. And there's something, so it's not just being mad at him, it's like it's a kind of a profound thing when you think about illegitimacy. And how that can translate, as we talked about, in terms of the migrant issue, Holocaust, any kind of prejudice or persecution that really resides in there. And that allows us to do the most evil things that we do. We start seeing people not as people, but as just sort of these objects that we need to get rid of at the extreme level, right? I'll just reread this again because I think it's really powerful. Acceptance of ourselves, being at peace with who we are, our place in the world, and being at peace with our past desires, ambitions, objectives, and goals while not being driven by them. We accept ourselves as legitimate, warts and all, not encumbered by negative self-judgments or being caught living in the judgments of others. And we still know that we have things that we can work on. I remember when I first started getting into Buddhism, I was in college and I knew nothing about Buddhism or meditation. And I had a big crush on Cindy Putterman.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. she was beautiful. And she said, "Hey, you want to go meditate?" And she could have said, "Do you want to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge?" I would have jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge. I said, "Sure, yeah, let's go." And I had no idea what I was going to. And I walked into a pretty big, probably twice the size, so big, and a senior teacher, and they were called Dharma at that time, an organization kind of created by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, Tibetan Buddhism, very powerful teacher. And so I sat there on the cushion, and she sat next to me. And it was an amazing experience I had. It just really made sense to me. Like, oh, and the teacher started talking about working with your mind, and we can grow and cultivate who we are, and all that good stuff. And I thought, this is really great. And then from that day on, this is 79, I was engaged in Buddhism. And when I moved back after college, Cindy had left me by that time, unfortunately, but I didn't harbor any resentment. Dharma has, and still do, it's called Shambhala now. I think the centers all around the world. So they had one in New York City, and I was living with my sister in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is across the river. And I just had gotten out of college, and I had what would you call it? I was depressed. I had no idea where I was going, what I wanted to do, and I felt the pressure of I got to figure this out and figure it out really quickly, and heading just nowhere with that thing. So I went to the Dharma and you meet with a teacher before they'll allow you to come meditate regularly there. And I met this guy, Bob Chender, and you meet in this little room and give meditation instructions. And it's hard to describe what I experienced with him. It's the first person who really listened to me. I remember just talking, I have no idea what I said. But he just had a presence with me where I felt legitimate, or even the word love was used earlier, like that acceptance, and it was really one of those kind of life-changing experience of, yeah, this is a path. And he was a senior student. Yeah, I want to go on this path too. And it's those moments like that for me that really are powerful. And then just one more little quick story. So I'm going to Dharma and they are very, what are they called? They're called the Kagyu lineage in Tibetan Buddhism, which means they're the practice lineage. So meditate, meditate, meditate. So they have, like, on Fridays, they have meditation from 6 to 9, lots of meditation. And my other sister comes into town. I'm living with my sister, so we meet for lunch. And I'm sitting there, we're just talking, and my sisters, they kind of stop me and they say, you're smiling a lot. What's up with that? What's going on with you? And I didn't even realize it. And I go, I don't know, I've just been meditating a lot. And It just kind of another indication of like what I was doing was really, really important. And this idea that I learned with the Dharma Dhatu was this idea of, this is again going back to that foundational place for us that the Buddha talked about, and brilliantly Chogyam Trungpa said it's this idea that we all have basic goodness. It's inherent in who we are. We could say Buddha nature, Buddha in the palm of your hand, but basic goodness. It can't be taken away. We have it. And part of getting there, or for me and for all of us, I guess, is really the meditation practice, studying the teachings, and just keep unfolding. And I did have glimpses, and I still have glimpses at times of that basic goodness, meaning it's not conditional. I didn't have to win the lottery to feel my basic goodness. It's there, and it's an amazing, for me, amazing thing. I don't go there a lot in my life. And he writes, when we don't punish or condemn ourselves, when we relax more and appreciate our bodies and minds, we begin to contact the fundamental notion of basic goodness in ourselves. Through the practice of meditation, we begin to find that within ourselves, there is no fundamental complaint about anything or anyone at all. Pretty magical, huh? And any thoughts about basic goodness? So Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, I think we may even have his book up there, Sacred Path of the Warrior. What he was trying to do was really put Buddhism in a secular format so that it'd be more accessible to people. Beautiful book. So let's go back to the retreat and this guy I'm having resentment with. I'll finish up here. And what I noticed over the time of the retreat is that feeling of resentment started lessening, partly due to just meditating and letting things go, but also kind of really looking at introspectively my feelings of resentment towards him. And by the very end of the retreat, I could see him more clearly, like just the man he was. And what was interesting was his voice sounded so different than before. And it's partly because he was practicing too, but there was that kind of moment of, oh yeah, I'm kind of interested in him now. I'd like to get to know him now. And very beautiful moment for me. So new possibilities arose that weren't there when I started the retreat. So that's my talk. Thanks for listening. Questions, comments?
Over here, Gary, and those of you online, feel free to unmute as you can.
Yeah, thank you, Robert, and thanks for injecting a lot of humor into your presentation. It's always appreciated. Very early in attending retreats, and it wasn't here; it was in New York. But we were going into the Buddha Hall to start the day, and there were cushions were laid out on the floor. And I was kind of sitting, we were kind of sitting about 3 rows back, and there was a woman sitting in the front row, and all the front row had filled up, and this woman came over and said to this woman, and she said, I'm sorry, you're on my cushion. And the woman, I later learned, it was her first retreat ever. I said, well, I'm sitting here, it was open. And she said, no, you don't understand, that's my cushion. And the woman says, well, are these reserved? And it was an honest question, it wasn't a smart-ass question. And she said, well, no, they're not reserved, but I've been sitting here forever. I've been a long-time member of this Sangha. And the conversation got kind of tense, and finally somebody came over and sort of intervened and kind of walked the long-time member back, and she wasn't happy, and she displayed her displeasure. And I was thinking to myself, it's kind of not Buddhism-like, is it?
Right.
So.
Yeah, another great example of resentment.
Ken?
Yeah, I love the talk. I'm actually rereading the Tao Te Ching because I read it first before started my path. But in the translation, it talked about something that I think applies to Lojang, and that is the translator mentions the Christian term lectio divina, which means a meditative religious reading, where you read very slowly, very thoroughly, and then stop and contemplate and go back. And I have been doing that with the Tao Te Ching, and it has been amazing the way it's resonated with me. And I think doing the same thing with smaller, instead of zipping through.
Right.
He mentions it for the translator talked about it as a lectio sinica, like listen to Lao Tzu, meditate on what he's saying, and it's as somebody who has always tried to read as quickly as possible just to get through it and get to the end. It's a really different way to appreciate it that I think carries over from the practice.
Yeah. I mean, Norman talks, keeps reminding us that this is a practice. You're not just reading a book. If you really want to get the benefits of this, you need to keep revisiting. And he says, pick out the slogans that really resonate with you. And I'll just share a couple here just to give you a flavor. So we have the resentment one, which we all love, right? Let's go. Don't be a phony. Don't try to figure others out. That's a great one, right? Abandon hope. Don't poison yourself. Don't be tricky. I like that one. So things like that. And when you actually go into the commentary that he writes about that, usually it's the opposite of what the slogan is saying. Like poison yourself, what he means by poison is selfishness. Don't live from a place of selfishness.
Sam here, then Mary, Mark, and Adrian.
Yeah, I loved your talk. It was great. But yeah, I think working with Myogetsu, I had looked at a lot of Lojangs too, and actually you kind of inspired me to look at maybe read the book too and try to explore that further because it's so helpful. But yeah, I think a lot about like when I first started practicing with Zazen especially, is I remember thinking like I'm doing this wrong because it's like, well, my mind is wandering so much, or it's like surely this is not the right way to do it. And that's part of the reason I came to come to a real Zendo at some point to be able to learn from real teachers and not just self-study. But something that I picked up on the practice, and I don't know where I heard it, but hearing about how with your breath and returning to the breath, it's the returning to the breath that's really the exercise, and where this sort of change occurs. It's the reeling yourself back in. And I think with Lojong, sometimes it can feel like it's like a Snapple lid, like when you read the bottom of the thing where it's like this very fun, pithy statement, like a fortune cookie or something, and but really the practice of continuing to recite them, I think, and have them internalized so that when a moment arises where one of those slogans comes up and you act on it, I feel like it's a lot like mailing yourself a letter that says "I told you so," because you act on it and you think, any specific slogan, I'll act on it, and I don't know that I feel it genuinely right now, but I'm going to act on it because this is what I should do. And then, later it comes, it's like, wow, like it was right the whole time. I couldn't believe it. I told you so. And then that change happens, and the more and more that happens, the more and more I just naturally feel my compassion build. So yeah, it's just
that's a great example of the practice of what you just described. That's really great.
Hi, I'm Mary. I can't quite believe the timeliness of this talk, actually, because I have someone in my life, in my family, who says a lot of things that are quite upsetting about people of other races, other countries, the current state of our country. And it got to the point last night, in fact, where I said, if you don't stop, I'm going to leave. And I feel a lot of resentment towards this person. And I just wanted to ask, like, what are your or anyone's advice, perspectives on kind of addressing that resentment and trying to have compassion for this person?
I would ask, is this person open to having that kind of conversation?
Not really, no.
So I wouldn't try.
Yeah.
So I think one of the principles is take care of yourself first. It's not like we deal with resentment and we throw ourselves into the meat grinder. No, it's like, well, some people we just avoid, we stay away from because they're not open. And it's a great question to ask yourself, even though I disagree with them, I don't like what they're saying, it's horrific, is there a place where I can hold that they still are legitimate? I find, I had a conversation this past summer, and it was two people, much younger than me, and they somehow, we started talking about politics, and I assumed they were like anti-Trump people, which I am. And I said, oh no, we voted for Trump. And I caught myself because I was just going to go, you what? And then they voted for him. And I stopped and I thought, and then I said this, which I thought actually was pretty good. I said, no, I didn't vote for him, but I still think we have things in common. And I said, I bet you want, I forget what I said, but like an education, all the good things. And it turns out these two women were, one was from Belarus and one was from Russia. And I said, so what brought you here? And they both said almost in unison, the opportunity here to grow their careers and be professional. So I kind of found like there was a doorway, and it helped me not just kind of categorize them in the Trump bucket of, which is so easy to do for me. It's because there's so much I disagree with, I find abhorrent. But yeah, I don't know if that's helpful for you.
Thank you for this lovely talk. I have, as obviously, since I've talked a bunch, I had a lot to think about during this. And I can't help but think about how when we talk about resentments, we're immediately creating a dualism. Them versus us. And because you're talking about the lojong, I thought about one of my favorite practices, which I do a lot, which is Tonglen. Mm-hmm. And normally in Tonglen, for those of you who don't know, Tonglen, you see the, quote, other, and you breathe in what you perceive as their pain, their terribleness, and you breathe it into your heart, and then you breathe out goodness, to, if you will, to in fact change them in the way you perceive them. But there's another way to practice Tonglen, and that is to see you out there, and to see how you are resentful, if you will, and to breathe in that resentful part of yourself into yourself, your other, I hate the word self, into you, in your heart, and try to transform yourself through that breathing exercise. And I find that very, very powerful. Not always successful, honestly, but extremely powerful nonetheless.
I'm glad you used the word that it's a practice that you do. It's not a one-time, it's over and over and over again.
Oh, it's so ongoing. And this period is, it's the holiday season, so we're all, for me, it's like I'm engulfed in family. And then you see all the things about your family, and so of course you had that experience yesterday. Yeah, so, but I wanted to thank you too. And I this experience of resentment, I actually went through it with a family member, and I was like, oh my God, what, she's taking advantage of him. And I was like, then you become, like the resentment for a while, it takes over. I mean, at least me. Maybe other people don't experience it that way. Maybe other people are like really present and able to say, oh, well, I'm feeling resentful over here. Not me. It's like I have to go through it, and then I have to kind of okay, I'm gonna meditate. Okay, I meditate. So then they do that. And then slowly it kind of settles down. And then it's like, I do practice Tonglen. And this morning I was practicing Tonglen in the hall. Both kinds, you know, and it does help. But the other thing that helped, I mean, you know, and then you're able to get some, you know, some distance and perspective, and you start feeling better, and you know, et cetera. And then, but the other thing that helped was, like, for some reason I had this like, oh, I need to go do the Hungry Ghost thing. I've never been to Hungry Ghost. That's the service we do twice. I thought I should do that. This person I'm dealing with and myself, there's Hungry Ghosts, and she needs help with Hungry Ghosts. So I came and did, you know, learned about the Hungry Ghost thing, which was helpful because then I was able to do the Tonglen and become much more at peace with what was happening. So it's just another aspect of ongoing practice. And I have one more thing, which is, and I'm sorry, I talk a lot. People who know me just tell me to shut up, you know. But
It's okay.
this is more myself. I'm becoming more myself. I'm speaking out. But that's the thing. I mean, if you're a naturally really self-absorbed person, and then becoming more yourself is like, holy moly. And because this is like, honestly, it's a struggle I've had my whole life, is trying to become more giving and more loving and more, you know. So which is the real person, right? Is it the self-absorbed aspect of yourself, or is it I mean, you know, it's a conundrum, like the contradiction of, you're becoming more yourself, but if yourself is really harmful to other people or is too self-absorbed, then yeah, you need improvement, but then are you doing something with your real self? I mean, that's a complication.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, in that situation, I think maybe curiosity is like what I will go to and just try to kind of nudge myself back to a curious state and try to say, like, what fears are driving these beliefs? And, you know, possibly, like, you can connect or relate to some of the fears without accepting the beliefs, but understand a little bit of the kind of fears that would probably drive some of those beliefs.
In yoga, we do postures, but there's the 3 C's. You're supposed to be in an area of comfort, and then an area of curiosity, and then in an area of challenge. So sometimes when you're dealing with this, that's kind of, you know, do I need to be comfortable today, or can I challenge it today? Can I be curious today? So you just kind of see where you feel. And then I just wanted to ask you if you have an example of a book from Seiler for me?
Mm-hmm. It's a book I got in coaching. It's called Coaching to the Human Soul. And there are actually 3 volumes, but volume 2 would be the one on moods and emotions. Yeah. That might be hard to find. But, I'm sorry? Coaching to the Human Soul, I believe.
And Earl, online, you can call us. If you just like to unmute yourself. Can you ask for him? I don't know if you can hear me. Earl, online.
Earl?
Oh, yeah, hi.
Hi,
Thank you.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
You got the ball game on or something? Yeah. Okay, Earl, you're good to go. You're on mute, though, it looks like.
Yeah, ask him to try again. Yeah, thumbs down. Tell him if he wants to type it in the chat. I can read it if it's something.
Yeah, Earl, type it in the chat, and then we'll read it.
Okay. And Shuping asked Shuping if she was unmuting.
No, I just did. Her has been trying to.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. So here, Paul, did I type that? Or tell me again. Joe, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. I'm Joe, and from New York City, actually. Spent many days in Hoboken. Thank you, everyone, for your friendliness and warmth. It sparked so much in me. And, but to Mary's point, and I have been on both sides of those. I have been the obstinate one that was incredibly resentful, and then the one that was who I thought was very open, but very resentful of the resentful person. And then what that caused me, I can't even calculate. And I think I've gotten better with it over the years. And for me, that is just, I don't know how to explain it other than I found ways to release it. And one of the ways I found to release it was, and I have to remind myself of this every single day, many times a day, is that nothing will grow unless there's fertile ground. And I think that's what my practice in meditation is all about, creating the fertile ground, allowing the things that are going to come to me in life just from the currents of life, and finding a way to accept them and see the lessons in them and then grow from them. But when I was the resentful person, I absolutely thought I was right and it was the only way. And obviously this person must mean something to you because you wouldn't be considering it otherwise. And maybe the way in is through what that person means to you, and then be open to that. And when I have had people over the years that could extend warmth to me, even though I was sometimes a bastard, just unyielding, I look back now and sometimes it brings me to tears because I didn't know where that came from. And I wasn't in a position where I could recognize it. Mm-hmm. But now I am, and I'm so much more open and available to them. And what I have to offer to them is so much more. So I don't know if that's helpful. But, Thank you.
We have just about 5 more minutes, just a few more. If there's any other comments, let's see. No, I do not see a chat. Earl, you still working on it? Are you typing, Earl, or? Yeah, oh, he is, okay. Try it again. You want to try it again? Are you sure it's not going to work?
It has to do with the original software.
That's weird. It's like it's being jammed.
All right, well, anyone else? Oh, Julie, yeah, go ahead and unmute. Good morning.
One of my first trees at Illinois, the woman was driving easy. First she was just breathing loud, and then she constructed a recliner out of the kitchens.
Oh, yeah. She recreated a recliner out of the cushions after first breathing loudly, so she had a similar experience to what Robert was experiencing for her first treat. Thank you, Julie.
I think one of the things that, for myself personally, like I talked about, having conversations with people, like the difficult one you're trying to figure out, for me is I tend to move away from uncomfortable conversations, like where somatically I feel discomfort, like this just doesn't feel right. And I'm wondering, can I develop more capacity to hold the discomfort but continue the conversation? Like the conversations we need to have in this country are uncomfortable. But real conversations where we really are accepting of one another. Not like I'm going to beat you over the head with my views, but let's talk about it, kind of thing.
Okay, last thoughts. I think we're about at time. Oh. Yeah, it seems like everyone who unmuted got echoes today, for sure. Our thank you, online Sangha. I feel like our audio is something that needs some improvement, so we're going to try to figure that out. So my apologies for the audio. Any other comments, thoughts? Ungo, right here, and then we'll call it a day.
I was at a teaching here that was given by Shishin and his wife one time about the grace method. And something I learned that really, really stuck with me is there's nothing I know. And just for people to contemplate, nobody here knows for sure that the election wasn't stolen. I know I don't. I'm not a fan of Trump, but nobody knows. But we're just all walking around thinking we know. Now, I'm not a fan of him. I don't believe it myself, but I don't know. Just something to think about.
A great gatekeeper of speech, then what do I really know to be 100% true? Okay, our last chat. Carolyn says, thank you for the great talk. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Those of you online,
Thanks, Robert.
have a wonderful
Thank you.
Sunday.
You're welcome.
Those of you here in the Buddha Hall, please join us in the community room for some refreshments and great conversation. Those of you online, have a wonderful Sunday.